Good morning. I'm Richard Sealine with Roar Partners and Future Proofing America. It's great to have you all join us for what we hope you will find to be both exciting and, frankly, beneficial to your individual work and activities. This actually started as a conversation almost well over probably 5, 6 years ago, in an idea that maybe one day we could bring all the different resources under one umbrella and be able to connect dollars, services, products, anything that somebody needs before, during, and after a disaster. And I'm going to emphasize as much about the before uh, throughout all of this. But what we've done and what you'll get a chance to see today, and most importantly, under what we call a discovery briefing. This is an approach that we're asking you to take a look at this, see where we are at this point, see how this has been built, how it can be customized for your own use, for your organization, your community, as a funder, how you can use this as a platform for distributing funds, all the way over to, as you'll see in a little bit with Hakan, an example use case of somebody who is in need of various resources, including the repair of their home or potentially retrofitted their home before uh, the actual disaster. Um, what you're going to see is an integration of a lot of expertise, individual platforms that, while each of them can stand on their own, have come together as partners here and have agreed to connect into what we're doing. So if you can show the partner, perfect. So on the phone with us is Red Rose, and Hakan will introduce himself in a little bit, and Jonathan will close us out. But Red Rose has been very much active in this entire technical build of the platform, not only how the platform delivers multiple ways of funding and dollars and resources, but how we've now integrated all of the separate platforms under this one umbrella. Um, so Hakan will introduce himself in a little bit. Um, we've added something that he will also show through Crescendo. So Mary, if you'll introduce yourself and introduce a little bit about Crescendo and explain what it's doing for the RCN, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Richard. And hello, everyone. I'm Mary from Crescendo, and we build AI powered support, and in this instance, a navigation assistant that helps organizations meet people exactly where they are, answering questions, reducing friction, and making sure no one falls through the cracks when they need help the most. For the Resilience Community Navigator, our role is to be the conversational front door, what we're calling Beacon. When someone visits the RCN site, Beacon is there to answer their questions in plain language, point them toward the right resources, and guide them step by step toward getting registered through the one and done application.
So, Mary, the fun part about this is your founder is somebody who I know, and somebody who folks may have seen his first product called Zendesk. This is the 21st century plus plus. So we're really, really honored to have Crescendo be a part of it. And if I'm correct, the great part about how the bot has been built, and we'll see the evolution of this over time, where we're going to connect it into a 311 style system. But Mary, how many languages will Beacon respond to, either spoken or text or typed? How many?
I don't have an exact number, but any
90?
language that's thrown at it, yeah, quite a few.
Yeah. And it can be spoken to in any way that somebody is most comfortable with, and it will help them be the navigator's navigator. So thank you, Mary. Thank you all for all the work that Crescendo is doing, and for the integration of what's underway today. The second part of this is the entire fintech and payments processing part that has come together, that Red Rose connecting with its capabilities of delivering resources faster, more efficiently, and effectively, but also our important task is to make sure folks get the money, get the resources that they need, and sometimes a lot faster than the normal processes. But what we also are doing is, and you'll see how this emerges in the use case that Hakan will walk through. We're really trying to limit fraud, waste, and abuse, meaning really get the resources to the right person, you know, and what they need when they need it. But also for the funders, whether it's a foundation, a non-government organization, a government organization, an individual, donor, we want to make sure that those dollars are traceable and trackable for the intent in use. So let me introduce Carla with SKUX. Carla's been with us from the very get-go. Carla, thank y'all for SKUX's great passion and support of what we're doing. Carla?
Thank you, Richard. Hi, my name is Carla Hughes. I'm Partnership Success and Client Success Manager at SKUX. And SKUX is all about quickly delivering funds for people in need, whether that is before, during, or after a disaster. Delivering funds in minutes, not months, because we know that there's both immediate needs, and we do that by issuing cards digitally that can be loaded to the Apple or Google Wallet. We have been fully integrated into the Red Rose platform via our API connections. Red Rose has all of the people's contact information that's required to receive a card. They'll make a call when the need has been determined, and they will be able to email or text the link to get that card immediately. We also have done a lot of work understanding that for this vertical, there needs to be sometimes limitations on how and where the money can be spent. The card we have set up in the Red Rose platform automatically restricts any purchases to merchants that sell alcohol, tobacco, firearms, any gaming, gambling, or adult entertainment websites. Those are automatically restricted. We also have the ability, in one of the conversations we've been having with Irvin, who'll be speaking, the ability to limit a payment to a specific geographic location, so a certain set of zip codes. So if you want to get money out prior to recovery to help people, you can limit to zip codes. If you want them spending money in recovery areas after a disaster, we can do that as well. That's all natively built in. And to go even further, SKUX is working with Incom on delivering item level payments. So that means delivering a card that has been set up to just support the purchase of a specific item or specific list of items. Incom is also the partner who's going to deliver any physical gift or digital physical debit cards as well, because SKUX is focused on digital. So I'll let Incom introduce themselves and talk about what they're doing in partnership with this.
Great, Carla. Thank you. Thank you again to you and Bobby for the great partnership and friendship in making this happen today. Dave, with
I just
Income?
remembered one thing, just real
Oh,
quick.
yes.
One of the key things that's important to all of this, especially, it's given visibility to how that money is being used and spent. There's a lot of reporting data on the spend
Yep. Yep.
that we capture and we share through API calls that Red Rose will be making into our platform as well. So there'll be a real-time view to that data as well.
Yeah, and we'll look at that under the mission control about how that data is not only captured but also, frankly, honored and respected for its significant data management under all the international and national rules.
Thank
But
you.
thank you, Carla, for that point. Dave?
Yes. David Etling with Incom. I'll introduce Incom and where we fit into the equation here. Incom is a global payments company, best known for pioneering the gift card industry. We've been in business for almost 35 years and really trailblazed the entire notion of distribution of gift cards into third-party merchants, whether that be B2C or B2B or B2B2C applications. We have done it all. Lots of other technologies that we have deployed throughout our existence, including ability to activate phones and software. Over the last 15 years, we've been working with a myriad of different health plans to power Medicare and Medicaid supplemental benefits, where now we have a network of over 80,000 merchant locations that really power that magic of SKU level information at point of sale. When one of our cards is swiped or scanned, the entire market basket data comes to us, and we're able to interrogate in real time at the SKU level what is in the basket, what's allowed, what's not allowed. It allows for a lot of granularity. So if there were a scenario where an NGO wanted to donate water, we could literally restrict those funds to only be spent on water within a very broad network of merchants. So we do facilitate that sort of transaction today, and have for the last 15 years, working with 8 of the top 10 payers in the United States. So it's tried and true technology, and we continue to expand that network. We're also working pretty closely with Build SOS, given that we have a lot of relationships relative to stored value issuance, gift card issuance. We have a lot of relationships with folks that would be germane to this space, that would be merchants within our network or to add to our network. So that there's also a tie-in there from a rewards and incentives perspective to get consumers to do what they need to do as well within the Build SOS platform. But at a high level, that's InComm and kind of where we're playing. As Carla mentioned, we're working with SKUX. And again, as well with Build SOS. Anything else, Richard?
No, Dave, thank you. That's perfect. And you raise a couple of great points. I always believe that, markets always have competitors. And at a certain time, even those competitors realize that, the famous 1 + 1 = 3 theory. This is what you're seeing unfold here under the fintech and payments process. I want to acknowledge that Payments as a Lifeline, a national organization, nonprofit that has really been working on bringing the most of the fintech and payments world into disasters and humanitarian, have really been instrumental early on in giving counsel and guidance to this process. And obviously making the introductions to SKUX and InComm and Red Rose and others. But I think, Dave, the other part that you and Carla raise is that it's kind of coming to you all gets literally us accessing 80, 90,000 different touch points, which means that we can, this really is a force multiplier. But thank you both. Let me move on.
One other thing that I failed to mention, it may be implied, but I think worth mentioning if not. Because we are interrogating in real time that SKU level information and reporting on it,
Right.
It also means that not only are we able to control where and when those funds are spent and on what, right? But we're able to return the ones that are unspent back into the program. So there's always end-to-end fidelity of the financials as it relates to an NGO making a donation, for example. Lots of work going into making sure they get to the right people at the right time, but also how they're used. And if they're not used within the defined period of time, they can be returned.
No, that's a great point, because there is, I hate to use the word clawback, but again, if somebody is a funder or donor, and if it's not being used, then it can be brought back in and redirected to another person who needs it. Let me call upon Andy and Hakan, if you'll click over to the residential marketplace. We're really honored to work with Andy and the Build SOS team. This has been another passion of ours, and that is that the ability to help individuals retrofit before the next disaster, to restore and rebuild homes. 70%, somewhere in that neighborhood of the losses that occur, right, Andy, whether it's insurance or government losses or whatever, end up being in residents. And we now know, the success of the IBHS, the Institute for Business and Home Safety Fortified Program, which has proven out successful not only in Alabama, but reaching out across the United States, is a great model on which to help get resources in the hand of homeowners, including those who may not be able to afford certain parts of retrofit or rebuild. So, Andy, if you want to introduce yourself and build SOS, and we can talk about, these 11 key phases that are really important to what you and your team have provided. But Andy, thank you so much for your friendship and counsel, and now your partnership.
Great, Richard. Thank you. And hello, everybody. So, yes, I'll give you a little background on Build SOS. We've been around for about a decade now. And initially, we were founded to combat contractor fraud. So, the board is mostly contractors, architects who are tired of seeing the same issues again and again in the Gulf South with disasters. So, our initial product was actually a card to combat contractor fraud. From there, as the years passed, we really tried to tackle the whole thing and boil the ocean. So we looked at pre-disaster, during disaster, post-disaster, and all of the stakeholders involved in that. So it was contractors, subcontractors, homeowners, government, insurance, manufacturers, suppliers, and vendors. And with that, we looked at the silos that existed there. So what we noticed was in each of these spaces, there were wonderful players who were really operating at a high level to try to bring the needle forward to improve these spaces. But the handoff points between them were where data integrity fell. There was fidelity loss of quality of data. And so even back then in 2018, we tried to fix it initially with a workflow system in the back end. And then from there, we actually ended up throttling back post-COVID, focusing on contractors and homeowners specifically first to get traction. And we ended up now, we have about 5,300 contractors nationwide, residential builders who have responded to our call, put up their hands and said, we want to be part of this. Behind that 5,300, we have about 500,000 data points of other contractors who are qualified in some basic ways of being active, being licensed, being insured, that we can then draw from as well in these processes. And from there, we looked at homeowners. We started gamifying homeowner preparedness, rolling out a suite of apps to help those homeowners where they were. Again, wherever in the journey they were, whether it was pre, during, or post, really trying to meet them in their needs at the time and not with aspirational products that we thought they should be using. So the reason I give you all that background is that when I met Richard, the fit was really perfect because all of those, the concept of bringing verticals together and of the workflows that go across those verticals is what we're bringing here with Richard and all of y'all to the RCN. So these 11 steps or phases can be thought of as universal buckets for how resilience projects pre-storm or pre-disaster and rebuild projects post-disaster flow. So not every project goes through every one of the 11, but by building these 11 phases out and creating the technical back end, kind of the substructure or superstructure, depending how you look at it, we are able to bring in these projects, for instance, whether it's a brace and bolt program in California with $30 million, where they have X number of homes they want to have the brace and bolt done with, or whether it's Cal Fire or whether it's IBHS fortified. What has been put together here with the RCN is something that is both structured enough so that everybody can go through a process that has this data integrity so that they don't have to reinvent the wheel through these bespoke efforts that we see these days. And at the same time, it's flexible enough so that it really is one size fits all. And one of our partners can either join at the beginning through intake and origination and travel all the way through to 11. They can also come in and out as they need through kind of an a la carte menu if the needs are smaller. So I'll stop there.
So, Andy, let me emphasize something that, I think we've finally brought together. There is a piece that's still hanging, so to speak, but this really now brings together, homeowners, contractors, vendors, the source of additional dollars that could be contributed, or a voucher, or potentially a state or federal program dollar that can move through. And then the ability to connect the contractors, the vendors, the source of funds to actually getting the supplies, installing, doing what needs to happen in the way of the retrofit or the restoration or rebuild, and be able to track the entire flow of that, including the back end of making sure it actually happened, when it happened, the performance of it, which I think these 11 steps, as you describe, is a workflow. But for me, it solves a problem for a homeowner, it solves a problem for funders. And what we are going to work on is actually how this can support and serve some of the property and casualty insurance and mortgage market, which is also a conversation that's underway. But Andy, thank you. Thank you for, the incredible work that you brought to the table and how we're going to now connect these dots together. So Andy, thank you.
Thank
Let,
you.
let me go to the mesh network and have Ben. Ben Russian and I got a chance to meet. Then it brought in some discussions that are being finalized now, but accessing the good work of AccuWeather, who most of you have seen or rely on AccuWeather. But Ben and I got to know each other. And what we have built with Ben and AccuWeather is a way for now to communicate out into a community, into a geography, well before a disaster hits and well after the disaster hits. So, Ben, can you introduce yourself and give a little bit of background on what y'all been working on, and then how this connects to what we call this constellation or this mesh network?
Sure, no problems. Thanks, Richard. My name is Ben Russian. I'm CEO of EasyPS Softwares, and basically what we do is we build customized communication workflows for organizations, communities, school groups, whatnot. A lot of what we've worked on previously in the last few years has been active shooter response in the education sector. When Richard presented this opportunity to us, we saw there was a lot of overlap in terms of what we do there and what is able to be done in terms of disaster communication pre, during, and post. So effectively, what the mesh network is designed to do is to provide one entry point for someone who's managing the communication during a disaster throughout a community, and be able to access incoming data points for the purposes of the introduction of the mesh network. We're showcasing integration, picking up weather data points from AccuWeather, using those communication, those data points to then make a decision on whether the software makes a decision via rules or human interaction makes a decision to then push notifications out through community-owned assets or private-owned assets. So where this is really clever is we're leveraging existing assets that exist throughout the community, whether that be signage, whether that be mass notification systems, whether that be public address systems, lighting, whatever assets they may have that could play a role in a communication workflow pre, during, and post emergency. we're able to leverage them through node voltage connection or API, and pick up important data points that might be the water level of a river. It might be a tornado sensor, it might be an API feed from a weather app like AccuWeather, and then push that out to signage, audible communication via PA systems, mass notifications such as Raptor and things like that. So we have a series of standard connections that are already done, but then every community has different assets that require different communication capabilities. So we're able to customize those connections and have them all be able to be accessed via one centralized entry point, being the interface. What we believe this helps is to speed up communication, ensure communications get into the right spot, and automate workflows where they want automated workflows. So A happens, we want to ensure we can communicate B to deliver an outcome that is C. Basically that's
Yeah.
what the mesh
So,
network's all about.
so Ben and Hakan, can you scroll back now to the kind of constellation? I want to play off of that and then have Ross, if you don't mind, Ross, introduce yourself and share a little bit about really the great success of what AccuWeather is doing. At the end of the day, what we now have a capability is aligning with, obviously, elected and appointed officials and different asset owners within the public arena, and you can see, an example of these. But also work with local employers, chambers of commerce, different industries that have different forms of screens, and then at some point be able to obviously work with the cellular mobile systems. But the intent is 72 hours before, be able to give an alert that something is going to happen. You need to get better prepared for it. These are the things that you should be considering. And by the way, get yourself registered into the Navigator, into the one and done form, which we'll come back to in a little bit, and make sure that you've got access or ready to get access to resources in advance, and provide additional information. Same thing on the backside of the storm. After it hits, people are much more stressed out and obviously greater concern. And so they're going to need access to resources that you've heard about through the Fintech, through the cards and the resources that come through that part of it. Ross, the work that AccuWeather has been doing, and again, it's almost like a household brand, but at the same time, the work that y'all been doing in places that deal with these kinds of emergencies. So, Ross, can you introduce yourself and give just a
Yes,
little
sir.
bit?
Thank you. Yeah, my name is Ross Mashurik. I lead sales on the AccuWeather, we'll say services side of the house. We affectionately call it AccuWeather for Business, and I just want to make sure that I give a distinction as to what that is. Most people are familiar with us when it comes to the media side. So what you see on the website, the mobile application, the TV channel, anything that you maybe hear on the news or the radio as well. That is all of our media side of the business. And actually, where AccuWeather was founded is what we call AccuWeather for Business. And we currently support over half of the Fortune 500 today, as well as schools, municipalities throughout the country. What we do that's different, we have over 100 meteorologists on staff. And our purpose is to make sure that we are getting alerts out to individuals, identifying what is actually going on atmospherically, and making sure that people have as much notice as they possibly can. If you look at us compared to either competitors in the space or even public sources such as the National Weather Service, and please don't take this as us disparaging the National Weather Service. We absolutely love them. They do a valued service, and we work very closely with them. But in short, when it comes to providing notice, AccuWeather's delivering twice the notice that you'll find from any of those other sources. And when it comes to error rates, we're 77% less in that error rate. And that all comes down to the quality of the meteorologists that are behind the scene, working those forecasts, producing those alerts. And as you heard from the EasyPA team, what we're doing is we're using unique sources, channels, even things as simplistic as phone calls, text, push notifications to ensure people are not only getting alerts, they're getting them in a timely fashion. They know the procedures associated with them. They know how to take action, and they're getting acknowledgement with that. So it's always a bi-directional relationship. It's not just here's your alert. Hope you take action soon enough. It's you're taking action, and you need to notify us that you're taking that action. Otherwise, our job isn't done yet. Our job
Right.
is to make sure that you get it and you're taking that next step. So that's what AccuWeather gets the joy of taking on behalf of this organization. So appreciate
Thank
the
you,
time,
Ross.
Richard.
Yeah. Ross, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for the work that y'all do, and thank you for bringing it to this table. So let me jump real quick to boots on the ground, because we want to definitely leave time for Hakan to walk through a use case. Irv is somebody who has probably been the most patient with me in this whole process and journey, starting almost 3 years ago. The work that Navigator, Sustained Impact Navigator. So think of that the Resilient Community Navigator is both a virtual digital platform that you're seeing here, but it also connects and links with navigators, people on the ground. And what we realized is that some of the folks that are around these disasters are there for a certain period of time, and then they revert back to their other jobs or other duties. Some folks are there for a certain part of the distribution of resources. We believe that navigators actually exist 24/7. They're your neighbors. They're people that you trust in your world. They could be somebody that is working for a local bank, somebody that's working for a chamber, or somebody that's working for, your city or community. This is the reason why we really wanted to connect in, Irv, with what you all have created, and that is the ability to organize and communicate and connect, serve those folks in these communities, in these neighborhoods. So, Irv, can you take a few minutes, introduce yourself, give a little bit of high level on the Impact Navigator, and then we'll move towards having Hakan walk us through a case study.
Sure.
Irv?
Thank you so much, Richard, for your time. So Irvin Sloan, I'm one of the co-founders of the Sustained Impact Navigator. The premise behind it is that impact is not defined by folks inside the office, they're defined by the people on the ground. If you were to look at most studies, everyone seems to create impact. However, the people on the ground will tell you that always doesn't happen. And so what we do is we provide the trust and the transparency layer to the system. So we have people on the ground, your residents, your buddies, your friends, your colleagues, right? They are the ones on the ground who are capturing real-time information on the ground, and they're comparing it against the strategies and the programs and all the initiatives that we like to say that we're going to implement in those communities on behalf of those communities. I assure you that most of the times it doesn't always match. They'll tell you that very quickly when you see it at scale. A lot of times when you have community-based meetings and you're trying to get feedback, you realize that only a half a dozen people show up. Our platform allows for the system to capture thousands of inputs real time, so you're able to make adjustments to the strategy of how you're not just deploying the funds, but where the impact is actually going. Again, oftentimes a dollar, you say we gave a dollar to a community. That doesn't necessarily means that the dollar actually, one 100 cents actually got to the community. There's other things that are externalities happening within the ecosystem that are happening that may prevent that full 100 cents to getting there. In the end, only maybe 5 cents gets there. And so our platform allows for this intelligence layer to allow for it to say, hey, you know what? We may need to make adjustments to this strategy a little bit real time. We all know this. We all know that things in our world are changing faster than we like. There's no such thing as a 3 to 5 year plan or a 1 year recovery plan. It's now a 3 month recovery plan because things, sometimes are out of our control coming out of the political space are changing so fast. And so we give you we give the platform, the intelligence, the transparency, and the trust layer.
Irv, thank you, because I think one of the things also that you've taught me is that when we talk about navigators, and this is not to disparage in any way fire, police, emergency, but sometimes your neighbor is your first responder, number one. And number two, this phrase trust cannot be taken, lightly, and that is that often a lot of people come in from outside wanting to help and are needed, but periodically there's a little bit of, wait a minute, who are you and what are you? So what I think the critical part that Irv has taught me is that, how we align all these tools, all these resources in at a, street level, neighborhood level, and be able to provide these tools to these navigators is critical. So Irv, thank you. I'm going to, at this point, skip the one and done, which, if you want to show a little bit, or Hakan, of just the graphic, but I think if, come back down just a little bit to the graphic, right there. So what you're about ready to see, finally, is how we believe this is just an example use case. But one of the most exciting parts that really begins to pull all this together is that we've essentially looked at 74 federal, state, county, municipal, public sector, NGOs, donor funds. We've looked at 74, pulled all of their grant loan applications, and realized that 80 some odd percent of the applications are pretty much the same thing, but people have to go and fill out 5 or 6 of these. It can be exhausting, it can be overwhelming, and frankly, it can be pretty frustrating. So what we've done is created this one and done application. We are not taking away from the decision making of those owners of those programs, but what we are seeking to do is make it in a sense, easier process to fill out this in-depth information one time and then be able to deploy that information, obviously under very protected data management. This is something that the federal government's been talking about, Congress, others have been talking about. We now have it in place. But none of this means a thing until Hakan shows us. And if you all don't mind going a little bit past the hour, Hakan, why don't you walk us through the Maria use case, please?
Yeah, thank you, Richard. And then I'll start with walking through a use case where we have a person who is affected by a disaster, a fictional hurricane, and then she's seeking for assistance. And we will walk from her perspective first, and I'll show you how the backend then works. So first, just one entry point, but this Crescendo AI is our front face for engaging people, or the people to engage with us, so that they can receive up-to-date information from their convenient places like their mobile phone or from the website. I'll show you now, but you can ask in any language, really. So what is RCN? And then actually you can start also talking about like how can, my house is damaged, and how can you help me? So then actually this will put us into a call to action. And then we have this one and done form in which actually we have the website for the individuals to get registered and very quickly record their properties, damages, and also be able to apply for any kind of assistance. So it's not only for this damage repairs or fortification, but it's for any type of damage relief or any sort of assistance. So I'll show you how the registration works. So I'll just create an account at the moment. Oops, enter code, it's not good. Oh. So we have social logins like Google, Apple, everything. And then I'll just create this account at the moment, Mario Ron maybe, and then pick a birth date. So very simple registration form. Let's pick something like this. Yeah. And then you can register your phone number for SMS messaging and everything, but also it's not mandatory. We ask for also capturing a picture. This is part of the application process. We have identity capture capabilities so that we are able to recognize driver licenses, passports, all these different sort of identities. And then we are able to deduplicate based on all of our knowledge, because one of the things that we are resolving is we are trying to ensure that the assistance is delivered once from each program to every individual, and then there is no, let's say, no one receiving 5 times the assistance, and then some other people are left off. So once they enter into the website, and we have the counterpart mobile applications, which I'm gonna show in a second, then they can register their household members. So they can add new people into their families. They can register their properties. They can see different offerings from different funders and different, let's say, NGOs and everyone. Currently, for example, for this demo, we are having the Home Repair Assistance and Hurricane Melissa Assistance Program. These are some sample programs. We have news feeds. We have FAQs. Where these are managed by the backend, which I'm going to show you. And then we have also ticketing, getting support across they can share feedback and everything. So that's very much for the individual. And then the first thing we are expecting after, for example, a hurricane is adding their properties. So I'll just enter some address over here. Let me just write some stuff. Yeah. Maybe it's yeah. And then this is actually the one and done form, and it's a simplified version of that. And as Richard mentions, 80% almost of all the applications are very similar across all the funders. So what we are trying to simplify over here is to help the people just do it once, right? So let's say this is a single family house. It's built on, 2005. It's a 2-story home, 600 square feet. And then do I own? Yes, it's an inherited house. This is my primary residence, which I am living since, let's say, yeah, maybe. And there is all kind of like validation also across all of these things. So I'll just try to enter something like before the house built. The system has all the capabilities to prevent all of these errors and everything. And then we can capture signatures and everything, which is also on the ground. We have the capability to ensure all the information is correct. We have different validation schemes, which I'll also explain further. And we are also capturing if everybody in your family is living in this house or not. And then this, depending on this, like your assistance and everything might be changing. We capture the different insurance policies. You can have one or more. And then, yeah, let me just put in some numbers, policy number. We can also capture the documents itself and everything. So this is a very simplified version. But then once you have your property, and then you can have more than one in the system, then we start capturing the damage information. So in this scenario, this is after the disaster, but also before the disaster, we have the fortification scenario. So you actually can capture not the damage, but also like the needs of the house to be fortified. Very similar. So for the reporting of the damage, we have the different events. And then for the large events, actually within the system, we are having these, let's say, umbrella events for capturing the specific categories for the funders. And then again, this is a simplified version of that one. Major damage, the house is not livable. You can upload pictures or take photos from your mobile and everything. So we have the same, again, capability on the mobile phone. So the people can use either the web page or their mobile phones on Apple or Google. Is anyone living? No. no repairs has been done. Yeah, we've made a claim to the insurance company, $18,000, and then are you carried? And then, yeah, we just kept our insurance. So that's it. So I registered once, and this is the one and done. And then now I can use this information to seek all of the different funding programs across different, let's say, again, sources. And I can look at all these different programs and then what they are offering. So let's say this is offering this, it's Q&As and everything, and then home repair assistance. I can go and see the programs, the FAQs and everything, which are again, like configured by the backend, by the organizations that are providing the funding and the programs, so that they can receive applications, evaluate applications, and actually decide to provide assistance or not in this case. So say that we want to apply for this program and just continuing. So there is a checklist, so the self-attestation for actually applying for the program. Then I need to select my property. So I only have one at the moment. And then I want to actually use the report for the damage that I just created for my application, so that my eligibility check actually uses that information to be able to decide on if I am eligible for this assistance from this home repair assistance. And all of this information, by the way, all of the damage reports and everything actually is handed over to Build SOS, so that like all of the verification, field work, and all of these contractors, assignment, and everything. So there is actually behind the scenes a lot of integration and back and forth between the different platforms managing the RCN platform, which actually ensures us this information is verified, all the work is done, and the payments or any type of like work is properly accounted for. And then I'll just, again, who are applying for this assistance. Generally, this is the people living in the house. And then after the one and done form, some funders have different, let's say, questions, right? They have additional, this 20% or 10% of the questions that they are interested in for doing their eligibility or the due diligence. So this is like where it happens. So this is, again, a very simple 3-question set, but they are, for example, capturing, which is not in the one and done form, but it is an additional constraint that the funder is asking for, which is the, let's say, household income. Are you currently displaced from your home? And then have you already received assistance from anybody else? So I just click yes and no. Then that's it. So at this moment, my application to this funder is done. And then if there are more funders that are offering different programs, I can apply to all of them. And in the behind the scenes, actually, the system manages all of the data applications. So if one funder is actually providing this repair assistance, the system ensures the other funder does not provide that, or at least warn. And then on their discretion, they can provide the assistance or not. So it's a multi-tenant environment in that sense, to ensure that this type of like programmatic concerns are treated well. And in this demo, actually, now we already have our application approved, but in the real environment, it goes on to review, and there is this review process, which is sometimes physical with the Build SS, sometimes like the different, let's say, systems are getting called to ensure your policy, your damage, your income levels, and all of that stuff. So there are different type of like safety checks and fraud detection mechanisms in the behind the scenes. But once you're approved, then you actually receive some certain amount of cash or different type of like services and everything. And this, again, in this demonstration, we are receiving a card with some cash in that one. So I just received into this one, my SquareX card is issued because in this one, actually, we are providing cash through card, for example. And then I just received a card from SquareX, which I can just go and activate online and then use it in my Google Pay, Apple Wallets over here. So I'll just click on that one, which is
Hakan, while that's pulling up, let me emphasize what you're seeing right now is actually activated. This means, to emphasize, what the platform, what the portal has many pieces right now that we can literally activate for you, your needs, your different programs and projects. And this is a live example. This isn't, hypothetical, that SKUX is showing you how going through the process will actually deliver a card for you if you want to, test this out. Something I want to come back to, Hakan, sorry, but you raised a point, and that is that all of this, when you show the mission control in a few minutes, creates a huge amount of data. And part of that data is to make sure that individuals are not only getting the resources, but also if there are multiple funders, a funder may fund one part of a need and another funder may play, towards a second one. But if there's an overlap, the information does provide a way to make sure that somebody isn't double dipping, is the polite way to say it.
Yeah, in the meantime, I just started creating my card. It's just basic information, so name, surname, and a phone number. And then now the card is getting created. And once the card is there, I'll be able to put it onto my wallets. Now, conscious of the time, I'll actually switch to the backend while the card is getting created. And then I'll share my...
and thank you, Carla and SKUX, for taking $1 out of your wallet to pay for those cards today. You're the greatest, Carla.
Gotcha. And I would like to offer, if anybody wants to, I'll drop my email in. I can actually send you an email with the actual $5 demo for you could see how it works and how it gets added to wallet.
Yep. Great.
Yeah, and then now this is a bit of the backend, and then I'll spend a few minutes. So this is the program manager, where the funders are able to configure their programs, and then it has many aspects, starting from like what type of registration, what type of languages, and everything, by the way, is multi-language. So we are talking and speaking English at the moment, but this is 55 languages at the moment for the backend, and all of the information portals, mobile apps, websites, and everything are translated into many languages automatically, by the way. And then you have the designer for the programs. You can create your FAQs. You can get them translated into any language, really. And then you can get your application form designed. We have a specific form designer, which I'm going to show you in a second. We have the criteria builders, detailed criteria settings for which you can actually define who is eligible or not. The system automatically does these checks for you. We have the assistance type. We have the program budgets, notification templates, a lot of stuff. So we have also the payment schedules, the checkpoints, and this is one of the cash program examples, but it is not only cash, but it is also service delivery, in-kind assistance, and all of that stuff. And at the end, while your program is moving on, you have all the pipelines, dashboards, the monitoring mechanisms about like who is applying, how many applications are getting, what is your acceptance rate, what is your delivery burn rate of your budget, how much money is dispersed, how much money is in your system still remaining to be distributed, and everything. And then the system has this configuration capability for the funders, but also for this one and done form, in which we have the system form designer, which allows, for example, the let's say register a home is a form actually in the system which allows you to have like all of these questions and logic and all of that stuff. So this everything is actually configurable in the backend. And then what the system gives you is the capability to see all of the properties in the system which are registered. So let's see the one we just registered in a moment ago with all the details, all the occupants in the house, the insurance policies, the damage events. Also, if there are pictures and everything, we capture all of the information. We show all of the verification work done and everything. So all of this information coming from the third-party information management systems are actually combined and created as a ledger in the RCN platform, so that we have a unified record of every single thing happening across the project. And then you can see also this how is applied for this type of assistance. And if there are more applications for this property, we show all of these stuff. So I'll just actually stop over here and then hand back over to you, Richard.
Great. So I think on this note, and I know that we're bumping up against our hour, I think what you've just seen on this back end is a lot. It is a lot because the entire RCN is a lot of tools coming together in multiple ways. You can choose which aspects of the RCN that you want to use. It's intentional to be, you can say, I just want the fintech piece and I want that. This is not an all or nothing. It's customizable to what your needs are. We also want to be able to plug and play into legacy systems, meaning that if you've already got certain pieces, that how do we supplement and augment those active legacy pieces that are in place. The important part is it's comprehensive. And there is a whole team that you've been introduced to that is more than ready and more than prepared to get on the phone, so to speak, get on a call after this and do what we, are proposing, and that is one-on-ones with you and your team to go through this, identify what are the use cases and scenarios that you need, whether it's the city of Houston or it's Salvation Army or whoever is on this call and represented by those who will listen in. I think our objective is that it is a powerful, comprehensive toolkit that's only going to be made even more powerful by making sure that it aligns with what you need, not what we're telling you. We can help figure out pieces of it. We can work with your current and emerging circumstances, whether how you want to deliver funds, all the way over to these are communities that we want to work in. But you've seen something that I am very proud and honored to have worked with all these folks that you've been introduced today, who, again, their entire teams are part of this solution and are prepared to step forward and lean in with you. With that said, I'm going to call upon Jonathan, who speaks another form of English. You've heard Hakan, and now we're going to have Jonathan close us out by really emphasizing the incredible great work that Red Rose has brought to our table. So, Jonathan, it's a great honor to work with you and Hakan and the whole team. Jonathan, you want to close us out?
Yeah, I'll be brief. Much appreciated, Richard, and particularly the words. I think you must have read my closing notes, actually, because you just basically said everything I was going to say.
Well, say it better and sharper than I would, so please.
Well, yeah, no, you know what? I think you said it. But what I will do then is emphasize a couple of the critical points that I think really make the difference here. So just number one, it is ready to go. Like tomorrow, if there was a need for a specific modality that has been outlined today, that is possible. And it can easily be plugged into existing infrastructures and complement the hard work that's already ongoing. And I think that for me is a very important point. And there's a journey that we expect to go on with our different partners who embrace what we've talked about today. And we see that journey growing over time. But with the one and critical objective, which I think we should focus back in on, it was mentioned earlier, and that is, what's the point? Like, so what? That we know the tech works. We have proof of concept. We know that it brings efficiency, governance, oversight to the process of providing access to services, and whether it's cash or items in kind, we know that this can be done better. And with this collective and this brain power around the table, can really be done a lot better. But so what? So what? What it means is the end user gets a different experience. The end user not only gets access to multiple rails and modalities of of aid or of assistance, but they get an element of dignity. They get an element of choice and an element of access. Registration one time rather than 30 times. Dealing with one platform, one provider of the gateway to assistance, rather than having to go through a demeaning process or and very complicated process or finding a way to get access. So for me, that is critical as what, because it speaks to the multitude of stakeholders, the donor, the actor on the ground, and the individual who receives the assistance. And that's why Red Rose was set up initially. That's why we exist. And if we didn't, and I'm going to come back to this word and I'll close on this. If we didn't see the impact on the individual at the end, then we would question why we're doing this. But we believe this approach will not only bring huge efficiency savings, great oversight for donors, and confidence in the ability to provide these services that we're all striving to do in a timely manner, but will bring impact at community level and to the individuals that we're genuinely trying to serve with all of this. So that's how I close it, Richard. Much appreciate the discussion that we've had around this table, and we look forward to working with you all down the road.
Jonathan could not have said it better. And with that, I know that there's a lot of folks that have questions or ideas, feedback. We very much look for feedback. It's not going to be perfect. We think we're at a great phase to now move forward with you and others that are listening in. But what we really want to do next is start scheduling some one-on-ones with you and your teams, and making sure that this is really, in the positive sense of the word, right, Jonathan, being exploited to the fullest basis. But ultimately, who we're doing it for, Jonathan, is exactly that. And that is the individuals, their families, and the small businesses. So with that, thank you all. Thank you all for participating. And we look forward to working with each of y'all and figuring out how this can be a successful implementation for you. Have a great day, and we'll talk soon. Thank you.